we don't expand our imagination.
Justification for being what you are.
Hello and welcome to Washington Unplugged. I'm Nancy Cordes. Well, it's the last big primary day of this midterm season, and all eyes are on Delaware, a tiny state with an enormous race. Tea Party candidate Christine O'Donnell, endorsed by Sarah Palin, is poised to upset the Republican Party's pick, Representative Mike Castle. That's according to recent polling there. And we're going to start in Delaware and move on to the rest of today's races. Joining me now, New York Times chief political correspondent Jeff Zeleny from his newsroom in New York, and CBSNews.com's Stephanie Condon, who joins me here at the desk in Washington. Good morning, guys. Good morning. So this is a really small sliver of the electorate that is going to actually be voting in Delaware today. So it seems like it's really going to come down to who's got the better ground game. The Tea Party, which is supporting Christine O'Donnell, or the Republican State Party, which is supporting Representative Castle. Right, Jeff?
I think you're right about that, Nancy. I mean, sort of all the pent-up energy and all the pent-up things that have happened throughout this long 7-month primary season are look from the outside like they're boiling down to Delaware, but this really is, as you said, a very, very local race, a small number of people turning out. So national Republicans and state Republican leaders there are really frantically trying to get people to the polls. One of the problems for Mike Castle is, though, independents cannot vote in this primary. It's a closed primary system, so that generally benefits the more conservative candidate in this race. So the Republican establishment, who's picked Mike Castle as their candidate, he's a former 2-term governor, longtime congressman. They are worried that he will not be able to appeal to this narrow set of the electorate.
And of course, Stephanie, the reason that we all care about this race so much is that the Republican State Party is hinting that basically it's going to pick up its ball and go home if Christine O'Donnell wins, because they think she is not electable in a general election, and therefore they would not pick up Vice President Joe Biden's old seat, a seat that the Republicans appeared to be easily able to pick up just about a month ago.
Yeah, definitely. This is a critical seat for the Republicans if they want a chance at taking back the Senate. And, you know, there is evidence to suggest they're right, that O'Donnell isn't as viable as a candidate. Public policy polling, which had the most recent numbers out on this race, put out some more numbers last night from their general election polling, showing that O'Donnell I think is 25 points below Castle in favorability ratings among the general electorate in Delaware. And on top of that, the Democratic candidate does 26 points better against O'Donnell than against Castle. So, I mean, it definitely is clear that Castle has broader appeal.
And part of that is because she's a social conservative. She has railed against pornography. She's pro-abstinence. And Delaware is a moderate, some would say a blue state. And so this morning on the early show, she appeared and she was asked about some of her, not only that, but some of her personal and professional financial problems, reports that she's been working odd jobs, that her house was foreclosed on, that she hasn't been able to pay campaign workers in the past. Here's what she had to say about whether that makes her unelectable.
I made it through the difficult times. That's what the voters are seeing. Financial responsibility is making your obligations right. My opponent has cashed a government paycheck, a taxpayer-funded government paycheck, for over 4 decades. So when he makes those accusations that that's irresponsible because someone has struggled, he's insulting the voters, and I think that's where the backlash has come from, and that's why so many former people who once supported my opponent are now on my side, because it's this obnoxious sense of entitlement that this position should be handed to the next anointed king.
Jeff, is this the kind of race where an argument like that, hey, look, I've got problems just like everybody else, I'm not going to be waltzing into office, I'm not being anointed, is this the kind of year where an argument like that works?
I think it's really the only thing she can say at this point. I mean, locally, the stories about her have been really harsh. It's not just her house being foreclosed on and things. It's just some odd behavior that she's had over the years. She's been on the ballot before in Delaware, so from the outside, we're sort of learning this for the first time. But she's a known quantity in small circles in Delaware. But I think she is. What's interesting here is that this race has become as competitive as it has. For months, Mike Castle ignored her. He thought the best approach for her was to not pay attention to her at all. But after Alaska, after Senator Lisa Murkowski in Alaska was defeated, some 2 weeks ago, he decided that he needed to fight back and engage her. So we'll see if that was a right strategy or not, because all of his emphasis on her has just raised her profile.
Right, and it seemed like things really turned around for her overnight once the Tea Party, fresh off of its success in Alaska, came to Delaware and pledged $250,000 for her campaign, which in a small state like Delaware is a lot. But Delaware is not the only state where the Tea Party is poised for victory today, right, Stephanie?
That's right. In New Hampshire, Kelly Ayotte faces Ovad Lamontagne, and Ayotte was the candidate that the establishment has gone behind, but Lamontagne has come back with an endorsement from Jim DeMint, and he seems to be gaining some momentum.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, how are things playing out in that New Hampshire primary and other primaries where the Tea Party is surging?
New Hampshire's a little bit of a unique situation, as it usually is in politics. So both of these figures, and in fact, there's a third candidate in the race as well, are well-known political figures in New Hampshire. But if the front runner were to win tonight, she is the Attorney General. She is seen as having a strong shot in November. But if not, I mean, even Ovid Lamontagne, he's been on the ballot a long time in New Hampshire. So New Hampshire has not been influenced as much by the Tea Party movement, because there's more of a political structure there. Some of these sentiments have been aired in New Hampshire for a long time, so it's much more of an organized effort, and they've been up on the air for a long time. So it's not, New Hampshire and Delaware are not that comparable. But the bottom line is, the big picture here is, will tonight hurt or help Republican efforts to control the Senate? And if they lose that seat in Delaware, if Mike Castle loses in Delaware, it becomes more difficult for Republicans to win the 10 seats they need to gain control.
And Stephanie, no matter what, one thing we definitely know heading out of this primary season already is that we're going to be seeing a lot of new faces in Washington come next year.
Yeah, that's right. This is definitely a year where a lot of incumbents are leaving. We have, with the senators that have already lost in the primaries and all the senators retiring, we'll have at least 15 new senators. And I think the most new senators we've ever had in 1 year is 20. So, if we have any more surprises, we could be seeing a record number.
Well, this year is nothing if not surprising, so we'll wait to see what happens. But Jeff Zeleny of the New York Times, Stephanie Condon of CBS News, thanks both so much for joining us to talk politics today.
Thank you.
Nancy, thank you.
Sure thing. Well, covering the Hill, I'm used to seeing congressmen tackle big issues like financial reform, but this is new. Super Bowl championship quarterback Drew Brees has a video game out teaching kids financial responsibility. Our Kaylee Hartung caught up with the New Orleans Saints quarterback yesterday.
Drew Brees, Super Bowl MVP quarterback. There have got to be a lot of projects out there looking for your endorsement. Why is financial football something that's so important to you?
I've been involved with Visa's Practical Money Skills and Financial Football program now going on 5 years, and I've had the great opportunity to talk to high school kids from across the country just about financial literacy, preparing for their financial future, giving them a lot of my personal experiences, I think both good and bad, but just the opportunity to learn. And I think it's something that's not taught enough as part of the base curriculum in middle school, high school, college, and so many kids are getting out of school. I feel like they're very unprepared for what the real world's going to have to offer, and so that's what's so great about the Visa Practical Money Skills program and financial football. It's a fun, NFL-themed, interactive game, and a great way to teach these kids just some of the basic fundamentals of financial education. And with the game, you answer financial questions correctly, you march the ball down the field, score a touchdown. It's really a lot of fun. It's very easy to access. You can access it online at practicalmoneyskills.com. You can also go onto iTunes and get it as a free app. So it's really just a great tool and yet another great thing that Visa's doing to help America's youth.
Now, you're really the face of this game. Tell me how involved you were in the questions, really reaching out to these high school kids and questions that they could understand and would help them learn and grow.
Well, a lot of the things that I like to talk to the kids about when I speak to them is, just some of my personal experiences. Probably first and foremost is your credit score and how your credit score affects your future in regards to obtaining a loan to buy a house, to buy a car. I remember back in college where I was signing up for every credit card you could imagine. I'd be late paying my cell phone bill or utility bill or this and that, and then I get out of college and all of a sudden my credit score had been affected in a negative way because of all these things. And so it's just one of those things that I think sometimes, I learned the hard way, and so now I'm trying to impart a little bit of that wisdom, onto the kids so that, they get off on the right foot.
How have you seen them respond to you?
What's that?
How have you seen them respond to you?
You know what? They're very open, and what I'm amazed at just how intelligent these kids are. And once you get the program in front of them, they pick it up very quickly. It's just a matter of getting it in their hands. And 26 states have adopted the program, and so they've got practical money skills in the financial football game in every high school in the state. But we need every state, and we need every kid to get this in front of them at a very early age, because the earlier they can start learning these things, the better off they'll be.
Absolutely. Now, you said you've been involved with Visa Practical Money Skills for 5 years now. What's new about the rollout now and your involvement today?
Well, this version of the game is, it just continues to get better and better. And so this one is, even more realistic. It's almost like you're playing Madden, but, you're answering financial questions at the same time. And so it's very educational. I had the chance to have input into, what the questions would be and the structure of the game. And, there's 3 different levels, so there's a middle school level, a high school level, a college level. So really the game has just kind of gone to the next level and has just become even that much better of a teaching tool for these kids.
So where to next? What's the next classroom of kids that get to hang out with Drew Brees and learn about their finances?
Well, I'm actually getting the chance today to go to Bay St. Louis in Mississippi to talk to a high school and play the financial football game with them and just answer any questions they have and give them some of my personal experiences. But any opportunity I have to do that kind of thing and stay involved with, obviously, the Practical Money Skills program, I think is a good one.
And I have to ask, Monday night, San Francisco, you ready?
Yeah, we'll be ready. We'll be ready. Obviously, it was kind of interesting staying at home watching all the games yesterday. Not used to doing that, but had a chance to just kind of refresh the mind and the body, and we'll start practicing here very soon in order to get ready for that big Monday night showdown in San Fran.
Well, all the best of luck. Thanks, Drew Brees. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kaylee. We're going to turn now to Politico's Kiki Ryan for our weekly series Plugged In on the lighter, more fun Washington headlines. Kiki, what have you got today?
Oh, well, let's see. We got President Obama coming out with his 3rd book. This time it's a child's book called In Thee I Sing. So it's more something for his daughters that he can read, and it's covering 13 influential Americans. So George Washington, Jackie Robinson, Georgia O'Keeffe, and this, as we know, this is his 3rd book. It's going to come
When
out
did
right
he have
after
time to write a book?
Well, actually,
has he been a little busy
He
lately?
did this, yeah, he did this before the election, so it's been
Okay.
finished for a while. But it's just coming out now, and all the money from sales are going to be going to a scholarship fund for children of wounded or fallen soldiers.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
Okay, and what is the book about?
Just influential Americans. So just sort of a history lesson throughout the ages to kind of explain to kids, who they should know in America.
Got it. Now, moving from the president to the First Lady.
Yeah.
She's wearing a lot of J. Crew still,
Yes.
I guess, and it's having a positive influence on sales.
Yeah, there's an interview coming out this weekend with Martha Stewart and the president of J. Crew, who said ever since she wore her clothes back in 2008 on the Jay Leno show, they have seen just a huge spike in growth. Clearly, with her pencil skirts, the way she wears her cardigans, it's an affordable clothing that she can wear. And funny enough that J. Crew didn't really realize that she was going on wearing this. And not only did she wear it, but Jay Leno said during the segment, oh, that must cost like $70,000. And here she's on TV going, oh, no, it's J. Crew. So they were joking that it's pretty much the product placement of the century.
Right,
You can
no
have,
kidding.
especially with a fashionable first lady like
And it's not
like
just
Michelle.
J. Crew, right? That's not the only affordable brand
No,
she's
yeah,
wearing.
we have Liz Claiborne and Taylor. So, and even when she does wear something a little bit more high-end and designer, you usually see it mixed with, say, a J. Crew cardigan over a designer top.
That's the way to do it anyway,
I know,
right?
right?
You wanna
That's
be
a good way to
designer
do
from top
it.
to bottom.
Exactly.
You're talking also this week about a new movie. Andrew Ross Sorkin's book, Too Big to Fail, which was a big bestseller, is now being made into a movie?
Yeah, like most, best-selling books we see, this is going to be put out by HBO, and they're just starting to announce some of the casting, which I always think is kind of fun, because we see all these Washington guys around here, politicians, and to see how they translate to Hollywood. So
Right.
we have Billy Crudup will be playing Timothy Geithner.
Really?
Yeah, and we just saw him in Eat, Pray, Love, so this is a little bit different of a film. And his predecessor, Henry Polson, is being played by William Hunt, which I think is a good thing. So
interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see them playing someone who's, you know, still in office.
I know.
Like that, or still working in the government, as opposed to something that happened 10 years ago. Or
yeah,
20
and they
years ago.
actually can, like, you know, look at it and kind of speculate on it and give criticism. Like,
Got it.
Does it look like me? But
You know, I don't talk like that.
I know, but I think it'd be cool to have, you know, some Hollywood star playing me and like, oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. They're
good looking.
guaranteed to look better than I would. So then finally, former President Bill Clinton was on Jeopardy last night?
Yeah, they had an entire category, Bill Clinton and the Clinton Global Initiative, and not only were the questions based on Clinton, but he was there delivering them through video clues. So things about his his dinners that he has, the awards he gives out. That answer question we just saw was the Empire State Building. You know what his climate initiatives are doing. Yeah, but it's funny to see him, you know, there via satellite delivering all the clues.
Whatever it takes to get the message out, right?
Yep, and it's perfect timing because, you know, we have his big meeting in New York next week.
Got it.
With all the heads of state, so lead up to that.
Cool. All right. Well, Kiki, thank you so much for coming in
to be here.
Give us a little info on, you know, some of the fun stuff that's going on around here,
Yep.
aside from all these heavy-duty primaries today. Thanks, Kiki.
Anytime.
And thank you for watching Washington Unplugged. Join us here every day on CBSNews.com. I'm Nancy Cordes. Have a good day. See you later.